Hello friends and welcome to another Wednesday Quickie. If today is the first time you're visiting with us, we want to extend to you a very warm welcome and invite you to watch any of our 500 videos that we have arranged for your convenience in playlists, as we are confident you're going to find something both entertaining and useful. If you've been here before, welcome back. If today is your birthday, we want to wish you a very happy birthday. Today we want to present to you some tips and tricks that hopefully will be useful regardless if you're brand new, if you're just now starting, or you have an experience in the wood shop. So we're going to talk to you about how to do what?
Choose the right fit for your bit.
How to fit your bits or bit your fits? No.
But not Fitbits.
We're going to show you a couple of good practices for your miter saw, and we're going to show you how to correctly set up a portable table saw. In this case will be a Cobalt 1015, which is our table saw, but I think most portable table saws will be similar. Lastly, we're going to talk about should you buy the most expensive tool and inexpensive accessories, I guess we'll call them, or the other way around. So stick around if you want to find the answer to these questions. That is very frustrating, right? It happens always when we are in a very weird angle, in a very bizarre angle, that we really try to attach a screw to a difficult position, and it is a common problem that people don't realize. It relates not to the screw but actually to the bit you're using. You don't need a magnetic bit, but you need a bit that correctly fits the screw. As you can see, this is quite positive here, right? This is the bit we removed. And this screw actually, it's a little bit stripped too. Don't know if it's visible or not.
Yep.
Okay, so even on a stripped screw, this bit, as you can see, is very easy to take off and it doesn't want to stay on.
Yeah, it doesn't have a really good grip on the screw.
But this bit, which is the proper bit, can hold the screw.
Yep. And that's because it makes, a really tight fit with the...
Right. So it is not enough to have a Phillips screwdriver. And of course, most people know that when they have a very, very small screw, because the bit will not fit, right? But if you look at a set of bits, you're going to see that there are many different versions of Phillips, right? I don't know if that's very visible here or not. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different bit. So it has to be the appropriate bit for your screw head, otherwise it will lead into frustration and no fun. I don't know what else, frustration and what, I just get frustrated.
Anguish, distress.
I don't know if anguish is, maybe anguish is a little too much, right? I want to make sure it's forward. Did you? And as you can see, it's very easy to remove the screw. And now I held it, that's why. Next, I want to talk to you about a couple of tips and tricks on how to use your miter saw effectively. The first one that seems obvious, but often people don't pay attention to it, is that you need to be flush on the back on both sides of the fence, right?
Move the board and show that there's actually two sides. Yep. Okay.
And also make sure that you're not up or down, that you're totally touching the base, right? And in sometimes with big pieces of lumber, it can happen that the weight of the lumber lifts it. And that will introduce here, as you can see, probably an angle. It will not be a straight cut. So it needs to be flush in the back and totally flat on the bottom, right? Then when you're ready to cut, finish your cut and then lift the blade. And that way you end up with a very good cut, as you can see. This is our bottom side. This is our front, and this is our top, and all are very nicely cut, right?
Right, no shreds.
And also what can happen, and of course when you try to demonstrate it, you cannot, but the blade can actually catch the piece that you're cutting and lift it. In fact, it happened a little bit when we were using when we were doing our door project. It kind of took a corner off because Elpida moved the saw before the blade came to an end. But as you can see, this is a very excellent, right? This red mark, it's only because we have a new blade and there is a color that bled here, right?
Right, there's some red coloring on the blade itself.
But you can see there is no burn marks, and this is a perfect cut. Now, in many cases, you're not even concerned about this, but if you are, a little bit of sanding will take it off. It's just superficial coloring, right? Okay, next tip. If you have a folding saw, and it is in the folded position, as my Cobalt is right now, you should have some method of unlatching the mechanism, right? In our saw here, you press here, and as you can see now, we can slowly walk the saw towards us, and it's going to lock in the correct position, right?
Yep.
So you should not fight with your saw and ignore our dual, what do you call them, miter things. Now the first thing, I always store my saw with the blade down below the guard here, right? So the first thing we're going to safety. The blade has a lot of sharp carbide teeth, and it's very easy to injure you. Okay. So now we're going to bring the blade all the way up, and this is something you have to do before every use of your saw. I do wish that this was a little faster, but it isn't. Now, you need to set your saw before you plug it in, right? You need to avoid any possibility that the blade will come up and and injure you.
And we don't leave our saw plugged in.
No, we don't.
Unplug it when we're done.
We do leave some things plugged in, but never a saw, right? Even though it has a switch, and it has a quick switch, and also it has a safety switch that you can remove it, so children or people that don't have knowledge don't get injured. You want to raise that as high as you want, and you're going to see in a moment why that is important. So once you have your blade all the way up, and here, so you will see we are unplugged, right?
Yep.
We are not plugged in. Safety is important. What you want to do is bring your square. Now in this table, so we have some issue, and that is that this is lower than the surface. So make sure that you're flush here, right? Because if you're flush there, you have an angle and it will be incorrect. And there we go. And as you can see, we're perfectly straight, right? You should have no light shining through here. Do you see any light going through?
Nope.
Now a mistake that you can do is go here, and now you see light. Why you see light? Because I'm on the tooth, you see? And the tooth actually is a little thicker than the blade itself. So make sure that when you do the test, you are not on the tooth. I'm going to go between the teeth again, and you're going to see we have no light. Was that clear or not?
Yep.
Also, when you set your fence here, before each cut, it's a good idea, and we always do, we measure the distance that we want to cut, and let's say we want it, this is go to 8 I think, and let's say we want it 2 inches to cut, right? We need to go in the inside towards the fence, right? And 8 minus, I guess 3, what did I say, 2? So 3 inches, 8 minus 3, or we can do 2, we can go to 6. And we want to be just outside the blade there, correct?
Right.
And then we're going to lock this side. I'm going to come here. So now that we're where we need to, we lock this side, and you can see our gauge there tells us 2 as well. That's an important thing to know. If you have a gauge on your saw, it will read the distance between the fence and your blade. So if you're making a cut on the outside of the blade, that will be inaccurate by about 1/8. And then we have to do the same on the rear to make sure that we're correct. And what we said, 2 inches, right?
Yes.
And we're going to go to the edge of our riving knife, or if you want to be really, really accurate, you can take the riving knife off and go to the back of the blade. Correct?
Yep.
And then you lock the other side, and now you have a 2-inch, as you can see here, you have a 2-inch interval everywhere you are, and you can make your cut, right?
Right.
So that is important to do before every cut. And also make sure that your fence is straight. In this case, our fence is straight, as you can see. And I hope it's on the other side. I cannot see, but it should be.
Yep.
You don't see any light through it, right?
No.
A tool like that is really invaluable. I use it every time before I use any cut, and you can see we're level there. Can you see the bubble?
Yep.
So I like that we have a bubble in this specific tool. Not all of them do. I wish I had a smaller one because I like to do a similar process in our miter saw, but I don't have one small enough to do that. And the miter saw has a much more tight, you cannot go very high, right? So I might convince Mrs. Wizard to purchase me a smaller one for the miter saw.
Hey, don't play on the sympathies of your audience.
You don't want your husband to be safe? So we've retracted our blade, I don't know if that's visible or not, and we're ready to put our saw away. As you can see, it has a nice foot on the front. Is that visible?
Yep.
So what you do is you come here and you grab it by the handles. And you can see how it closes towards the base.
Yep.
Okay, and now the saw is locked and we can move it. Again, do not fight with your saw. Everything has to happen in a nice slow motion, right? And now you can move it wherever you want. And you can see I have here also in easy to access the guard. I have the 2 wrenches that are used to remove and change blades, and I have this is part of the guard system that this saw has, and what that does is grabs on the wood so it avoids kickback. Now in general, we don't tend to use this system, specifically the guard, because it really interferes with what you see. I mean, it's in the whole discussion about if that is a good practice or not, but I have to admit I rarely do. I do use my rivet knife, riving knife, but I don't use the guard. And I do, when I'm worried about kickback, this is a good device. You see this aggressive teeth? So the wood moves this way, moves this way, and it cannot go back. The way this is attached, right? Yep. It attaches this way. So the wood can easily move that way, but then when it tries to go back, it's stopped. This, if your saw has it, is a good safety device. I don't use it very often. I don't know why I don't use it very often.
Also very important to using your table saw is making sure that you do have a newer, sharp blade.
Or your miter saw for that matter, right?
Right.
And in our case, I will do an episode showing you how to sharpen your blade, because the blade that we took out of my miter saw was really horrible. So I will give it a try and sharpen it, and we're going to make an episode out of it.
Okay.
There is always an argument and a debate about tools. What tools should you buy? I actually intentionally use right now my least expensive drill, which is a Black & Decker. This is a $49 drill that you can buy in Amazon. It used to be at Walmart. I don't think Walmart carries it anymore. But I think there is something more important than the drill, more than your tool, and that is the attachments, right? In other words, no drill will behave very well if you have the wrong bit on it. And you can see those are quite different. I don't know if that might be hard to see, but you see how they're even constructed differently? And this one to my left is a much better quality than this, which is something that came with the drill itself. This has a much more positive cuts. And when you buy drill bits, make sure that you buy good quality. This is where you don't want to buy the cheapest possible. You can buy a fairly inexpensive drill, but don't buy the cheapest drill bits. In fact, in one of our builds, Mrs. Wizard exclaimed that, like, what was DeWalt? We had a hard time driving something, and finally we got my DeWalt kit out. I think it was DeWalt.
They were DeWalt bits, and they were amazing.
We did not change the driver though, right? It was the same driver.
Right.
So again, if you want to spend money, buy medium range tools, buy good quality bits, and in that case, to Miss Wizard's point, also buy good quality blades. You don't have to buy the most expensive blade in the world, but don't buy the cheapest. You don't want those pieces coming off and hitting you in the eye, right?
Right. It's like buying a beautiful brand new car and putting on really cheap tires.
So ultimately, it's better to buy a mid-range or an expensive drill and really good quality bits than the other way around, right? Buying the most expensive drill and put really bad drills, and I will show you what happens when you do that. I don't know if you will show or not, but can you see the disaster?
It's trying to focus on your face.
Here, you want to put it here? Let's put it here.
Yeah.
You see what happened to this inexpensive drill bit or not?
Yeah. It's got parts of it that look like they were either melted or worn away.
Yeah, the screw took them off. Because this was an inexpensive, very inexpensive drill bit. Something that I will not purchase ever again.
Right.
I hope you did enjoy this episode. And if you did, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works as well. If you have not subscribed, we would like you to subscribe so you can enjoy all of our content. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, and the Urban Homesteading Channel, stay safe, wash your hands, put your masks on, and we're going to see you soon with another project. Farewell, friends.